What's cracking, mi gente? What's cracking? This your boy D once again, ready to come to some love and share a little bit of knowledge. Today, I got another banger for you guys. Another story of another carnal, of another mero. This one is about a person I know very good, very close. I consider him somebody close to me, maybe even a friend. Some other people might say you grasping at straws or whatever, but it is what it is. We will be discussing Freddy Montoya, Fast Fred from the Rich, Barrio RST, and how I got to know him and how I got involved with him. If you hear a little bit noisy, I apologize. It's because I'm working, and like I told you, I'm going to be dropping a little bit of bangers here and there while I'm in the middle of working. I'm working from home today, but we're going to get it going. Don't forget to hit that like. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't. Don't forget to share the video. Share it with your loved ones. Share it with a person, your friends, your co-workers. Let's get this channel going, man. So we're going to begin today. How I got to know Freddy Montoya. So, as you guys know, the Bay Area, like I said it before on multiple occasions, was not known for being political. Especially San Francisco, the southern faction was not political like that. They didn't have Karnales, not like the northerners. The northerners had a couple Karnales from here. I mean, a couple NFers, Familianos, not Karnales, but I mean they're called Karnales anyways. But they had a different faction, right? Well, southern faction didn't. We didn't really have like connections like that. We were late bloomers. Yeah, we have a couple homeboys and homies. They used to work for different carnales. But whenever they would hit the streets, they didn't come home like trying to set up shop for those carnales. They didn't come home with like notices or orders or things like that. San Francisco wasn't like that, man. It was a little bit of difference. We knew Freddy Montoya for the past deals he had done with some of the homeboys and the feds, and because to his closeness to the other carnal, Fox. So Fox, as you guys know, had done a lot of business with the homeboys. Fox had done a lot of business with the cartels as well. So that's Fox, my boo, and a couple other individuals were like the little clique the Fox and them had, like Fred, Fox, Perico from Norwalk. There was a few other different ones, right? But it was all with those carnales. So whenever one of those carnales had a yard, the entourage, the people that were in a clique with him, the people he was in business with, or the carnales he fucked with him the most, they always had a seat in the yard. So let's say Fox, when I started hearing about Fox and I got to Centinela, Fox had B yard settled down for him. Even though it was a 3 yard, when I got to C yard, Fox had B yard at that time. Cia, of course, belonged to Roberto from Verdugo. He had a lot of people there. Turi from Cucamonga had a lot of people there. And Chordo from Colton had also a lot of people there. They were sharing those yards. Because that was the names I used to hear a lot. And they all work for so. And most of the meseros were from there. It was, I think, the only person that was working aside from them was from Peanut Butter. From Maravilla. Somebody was working for Peanut Butter from some Maravilla. I forget the dude's name. He left, he paroled, he went home, and Peanut Butter from Maravilla had him doing a lot of stuff. Then they made him a carnal and he got busted right away too. I forget the name, or might be Rascal, might be somebody else, so I don't want to put names on it. But he was in the indictment. Well, before I even got to Centinela, we already had done a few favors from Freddy and the streets. Nothing to do with dope delivering or none of stuff like that. We're just regular favors that he asked, like dropping some money off to his wife, getting something else to his wife. So that's how we know him. But still, when I came to prison, I didn't like to use his name because the favors that I did, and that was the first thing I told him. I was like, hey, I don't want to ask for no favors. I don't want you to like say I'm working for you or nothing. I just want to do my time peacefully. Because at the beginning, I didn't really like politics. That was not my get down. Like I told you guys, I never really liked politics, even though some of the homeboys used to be like, bro, why you don't get into politics, bro? You be straight, you a lifer, bro, la la la. But I have already sold the game. Like, those 4 years I did over there in Pelican Bay, in the shoe and everything, I saw how treacherous the politics game was. Like, one moment you can be on top, the moment you can be on your way down with a bunch of holes inside of you. So I thought it was kind of stupid that like you will be beefing with their own homies, and I saw this a lot, and I noticed, and when I asked our homies they've done time before me, there was always the same response. The homies, when they don't have nothing, nobody to beef with, like norteños or other races, they beef, they politic against each other, and that's why a lot of homies from down south kind of like the up north prison, even those 40, because the focus is not within. There's not against each other because they're too busy politicking, trying to make sure the norteños don't get the upper hands and other things. But when down south, because there's so many carnales that they all work for, and they work for so many different carnales. I mean, in Santanella, example, CR, I run into at least 20 to 30 primos. They used to work for Güero Verde, literally 20 to 30 dudes that call each other primo, and they were like literally recruiting motherfuckers to work for the dude, for Turi from Cucamonga. And that's when Turi was going to the little issue, and then Calipad, they had just hit his own entourage and put him and brought him down, made him step down out of the positions, and they had hit a bunch of people from there that were vouching for Turi from Cucamonga. That's when he was dealing with the issue, him and Güero Verde. So it surprised me like that people would still want to work for the dude, knowing the shit that he was doing. But one thing I like about Freddy, and I'm not saying this because I know him, kinda, but he was an asshole though. He was not an asshole. He used to treat you right, and he was never demanding. Every time he used to ask for a favor, he needed to do something, he would be like, only if you can. And then the other thing he had that I like about him was like, do not pull homies, they're not lifers, to do paros or pegadas. If you have a date, you have a close day, don't put homies in predicaments like that. Let them go home, let them do the time and go home. And I like that about him, because he saw that the best way you have soldados is better in the streets than in prison, which is something a lot of carnales don't take into consideration, but he did. It also helped that one of my homeboys was his main secretary when he was in Salinas Valley. I won't say his name just out of respect because he's still pushing, but I know him personally, so I used to talk to him a lot, and he used to always tell me, hey, fool, why you don't come to the team, bro? Ooh. Then when Little Mon come aboard, they always used to be like, hey, fool, if you don't like working for somebody else, work for the homeboy, he's a homeboy. But like how always I said before in my prior videos, I didn't agree with nothing Little One was doing. I didn't like him. I didn't agree with his little movidas, little politics, getting homeboys hurt. So I chose to stay away from the whole ordeal. But Freddy was a different story. So when I got moved to BR, there was a position that opened up in 3 block. The homeboy, my homeboy who had that position for him, was leaving. He was level 3. So he was getting transferred to Pleasant Valley. And they wanted somebody with a little bit of experience, with a little bit of knowledge of politics, to take over. And the other 2 people were there were for Sanjo. They were working for him. But they were younger than me. And they were non-lifers. So the homeboy approached me like, hey, fool, will you be interested in taking over the building for so-and-so? And I was like, I don't know, man. So I'm sure, I don't know, bro. I don't really want to politic like that. Plus, I already heard rumors that they were about to put in the standby Fox. They were going to put it on shelf for the investigation. And the same thing was going to happen to Freddy. And then Little One was going to follow. Because of the Little One investigation. A lot of it had to do with Little One investigation because a lot of them were vouching for him. Fox was vouching for him. Perico was vouching for him. There was a couple people. I mean, Freddy, not Perico. Perico had just once he became a rat. So a lot of people were vouching for him. So I didn't want to be put in a position where like I had a block for a minute, and then when they approached me to step down, and if I didn't, because I didn't get no palabra, then it was gonna result of me getting whacked, which I was not scared of, but I had a lot of people that depend on me because I was doing my thing. And I also knew that was the reason why they were approaching me, because I was a hustler. I was hustling. So I knew that they wanted me to have a secure line to him, but they also wanted to have something steady going to him still, right? Which I understood. It's part of the game. It is what it is. But see, what kept me kind of afloat was that when I did was hustling, even though I wasn't working for nobody, and I started hustling in the street, somebody, one of the older homies, gave me advice. He was like, never compromise to one carnal, just to one carnal. He said, because it can happen. That carnal can get a bad standing or bad graces of his own carnal with the organization, and then they're gonna hit his whole entourage. So if you were solely working for that carnal, you get put in a predicament where they can whack you or they can come and step you down or whatever. So he's like, my best advice I can give you, homie, he's like, always look out for 3 or 4 carnales. That way, in case one of your carnales, one of your tios get put in a situation, you still have a different route, a different outlet to where you can still do your hustling thing without having to be affected because of the carnal, and they still allow you to keep doing your thing. So I was like, oh, and it made sense to me. I was like, I seen them fools get hit for working for one carnal and everything. Some people might think there's disloyalty, but that's smart politicking. I looked at it. So at that time, I was sending cariño to different carnales. I was sending cariño of Chico from Hatcher, a couple of the carnales, Freddy, Fogs. There was a few carnales that I was touching up. Even Papa was included. And the reason why Papa was included on that thing was because one of my homeboys that I fuck with tough asked me for a favor to basically lend him some money to shoot off to him because his thing had dropped and he needed to bust a couple moves, and they had just caught him on his phone, so he needed to get a new one, but he needed to send a cariño to his tío, so I did. And because of that, his secretary was like, approached me like, hey, fool, you don't want to work with him? I was like, nah, I'd rather just keep doing what I'm doing. I can send you guys cariño here and there when I can, but other than that, I'm okay, bro. I don't politic. That was always my thing. I don't politic. I'm a marero, bro, and I cannot be loyal to 2 different things because my politics is always gonna be a mess. But I will follow the program rules, which is kind of awkward to do, but I felt that way I could be in the middle without having to choose a side, which could work for me, which did work for me for a long time. So that's what I was doing. I was touching up different carnales. So Freddy asked me for a favor. Well, they needed to be taken care of. Somebody from Oakland that pulled up there has stole something from them, and dude has slipped through the cracks in Pleasant Valley. So they asked when he landed there, we had got the name he had stole from them. Supposedly he had went to the hole because they snatched him up, but we had the report on his celly. His celly basically, he rolled it up and told on his celly. So his celly had sent us a picture of the report. So we knew he was lying. But he trying to slip through the cracks when he got to Centinela. So he happened to land on 3 block. And instantly, he knew the communication that we had open because we used to talk a lot through the class. So he started looking for people that were his primos, thinking that we weren't gonna find out because he thought his celly was in the hole after they caught him with the phone and everything. So he trying to slip through the crack. Well, unfortunately, that did not take place, and I was the only one happened to be there for old boy with somebody else, with my celly, of course. My celly, I pulled my celly in because I was the only person I trust. So when he landed in the yard, Turtle was the only carnal there at that time. So we approached him and we basically asked him if he can sanction what we were supposed to do. he kind of denied us at first because of the upgoing situation that those two Karnales had going on. But at the same time, he understood that he was a rat. So he was like, you guys handle what you guys gotta do and then go from there. So our movement was that we had to choose two people. I wanted to go. I'm not gonna lie to you guys. I wanted to go, but at the same time, that I knew that if I went, then that spot was gonna be vacant, and then probably was gonna be given to somebody else, and then it was gonna cause a problem. Then I would have to explain myself. But the thing with Freddy is like we used to talk to her often when he was in LA County Jail. We used to talk often. And when I tell you guys that his demeanor was different to a lot of Karnales, I will tell you his demeanor was way different to a lot of Karnales. He was not a grumpy old man, and he had the swag of a Bay Area, but he will also understand it. Like the thing I like about him, like if something were to happen, he'll still give you the chance for you to explain yourself, the opportunity, like tell me your side of the story, what happened. And he wouldn't never make a decision without hearing both sides of the story, which is something that I put in practice after seeing him do that many times. I started using that. I'm not going to jump to conclusions until I hear both sides of the story, just to give a fair investigation course of due process to the people, you know? Just because you never know. Somebody can lie or they have an agenda, they want to politic, but he always told me, like, always give people the benefit of the doubt. If they're not known for lying or they're not known for doing something and they do it out of anywhere, trying to find out what made them do something that they're not usually doing, which was a good advice, because he was like, if somebody doesn't use drugs, bro, and then out of nowhere that person start using drugs, you got to try to find out why or what pushed him to start doing something he's not doing. Because he's been in jail for 10-15 years, let's say, and he never did hard drugs. All he did was drinking, and out of nowhere he just started doing a bunch of dope. Something had to happen or something transpired that pushed that person to become or to do something he was not used to doing, which is a weird thing, because he gave me a lot of good advice. He treated me like a son. He treated me humbly. He was never like minimizing to me. He was never like, oh, you don't know shit, I'm your tío, you're gonna have to listen to what I say. It was never like that, man. He always gave us the benefit of the doubt. He always gave us a good process, dude. Every time we needed to do something, investigation, needed to run his courses, we could come to him and ask him for advice. He was never like, so why do I have you in a position for? Huh? You can do this for yourself. You have to ask me. What the fuck? He was never that type of individual. He was cool. He was humble. He was mellow. Of course, don't get me wrong. The one thing he had was, don't lie to me. Do not lie to me. I'd rather you to tell me the truth, explain to me why, than you to trying to lie to me, because then that's like a spit on my face. And he had a saying that I like. He was like, I'm not your hyena, I'm not your woman, so don't lie to me. Which was weird. At first, I was like, why would he say something like that? But then I understood that a lot of people lie to their women, including myself at that time, to trying to get a better position or a better situation, or trying to make them believe that we weren't doing something that we were actually doing. So he would say that, don't lie to me, I'm not your woman, don't lie to me. Keep treating me like the way you want to be treated. That's one thing he did install on us. He would like, treat me the way you want to be treated, so that way you never say that I never treat you the way you treated me. So don't lie to me, don't disrespect me. If you need something or you cannot do something, don't promise something that you're not going to be able to accomplish. Another thing was like, don't come here trying to work for me and trying to tell me you can do this, do and that. Compromise yourself to do a billion of things for me, and then at the end, when shit will come to push, you didn't even get one thing done. He's like, just be yourself, be who you are, be honest, and overall, don't be a thief. Don't try to impress me, because that's not gonna get you nowhere. So that was something that I always kept in mind. He taught me a lot of good things. Aside from game banging and hustling and doing how to do things, he taught me some real righteous things, man. Um, we always had a conversation. We always talked to each other, and he respected that when somebody would tell him that he was wrong. He respected your opinion. He always used to tell, "Don't be a yes man. Don't always tell me yes sir. Don't always tell me yes pops. I can do it. Tell me the truth. If you cannot do it, then you can do it. But don't always be a yes man, because he said that thing is just a kiss ass, and kiss asses don't last long, because you're gonna kiss the wrong ass, and then you're gonna catch that person on the wrong day, or a bad feeling, or a bad morning, and then that person is gonna throw you to the wolf. So he's like, just be smart, be you. You don't have to be somebody you don't need to be in order to present yourself. I understand you guys view us some type of way, but it's like we're not gods. We make mistakes. We are the same, which is something that stuck to me. He was not those type of dudes that felt like he was God. He was actually very humble. And one thing he had a lot of love for Salvadorians, which was people would thought was weird, but I later came to find out his wife was somehow mixed with Salvadorian. I don't know if she was half and half or she was full Salvadorian, but I come to find out he had a lot of love for Salvadorians. Not me, it might not have to do just because of his wife. Might have something to do with the homeboys, how the homeboys always used to put him up on it and used to do a lot of stuff for him. But he had a lot of love for us. That's one thing that we always respect. And I got to doing a lot of things for him. But the thing that he liked the most was like, I will always remember when it was his kids' birthdays, when it was his wife's birthdays, and I always be like, hey, Pops, I'm going to send this to them. He had a sense of family. He always used to preach that he had a sense of family. He always used to tell us, don't lie to your family. If you're doing drugs and you cannot pay, don't put your family in that predicament where they're paying for your habit. Don't lie to them because you want to get high. He's like, that's not cool. If you can get high on your own thing, you cannot make it happen. You don't have a hustle, just don't do it. Don't put yourself in a predicament where you have to get DP or get stomped on just because your highness, you get high and you cannot distinguish when it's enough is enough. He's like, don't get me wrong, I like dope too. He's like, but I'm not gonna go on the road knowing that I cannot pay for it. He's like, know your limit, which was weird because somebody else is not gonna tell you that. They're gonna be happy enough that you spending the money, put you in a predicament where you're gonna go crash, and then they're just gonna get rid of you. But he wasn't like that, which was weird in a sense because I never had encountered Karnales like that. At least me. Maybe other people have, but at least me, I never encountered people like that. So it gave me a different outlook on Karnales at that time until I met some really asshole dudes like Toto and some other dudes. And when I say asshole, I'm not saying it because I don't like it or nothing. I'm saying like dudes were something else. Like they were really angry. They were angry old people that they had something to just come out and get out their chest. So they were angry because they've been stuck back there for 40, 60 years. And they didn't have the chance that we had to have phones and right? I seen he wasn't the type of person that he would threaten you like, hey, if you don't get this done, you're gonna feel my wrath. He wasn't like that, man. And I'm not saying this to glorify him. I'm not saying that he is what he was. To my understanding, he's not a Karnal anymore. He's been put on the shelf. But he was a good person overall, at least with me. And I cannot speak with other people, the other people experience they had. But at least with me, he was a good Karnal, man. To me, he was like a good mentor. And I got to did a lot of good stuff with him. So one thing he wanted to do, his mindset was like, I would like to bring the Richmond together, like have the whole homies in the clique for Richmond to work with each other. Not under me, they don't have to be necessary under me, he said, but I would like to get the Bay Area together. That was one of his things he wanted to do, and I can vouch for that. He wanted to get the Bay Area to work together because there was always homies beefing with homies over girls, over misunderstandings, over dope, over business. So he was like, I feel like if I could be the one person that can all come and get their stuff from, then I'd be able to have, in case they have a problem or something, then they can be able to come to me and be like, oh, this dude is doing this, doing that. But he didn't really mingle with his barrio like that. He didn't really have like his hand, like he didn't really have his, how can I put it? He didn't have his feet on their neck like that. He will allow them to do what they have to do, because at the end of the day, like he would say, they're out there. I mean, here, they only know why they're doing those moves. They're the only ones that can tell me why they act the way they act. I can only advise them on what things can be done. I can only ask him to do it. But he's like, if I start demanding, hey, you have to do this or I'm gonna end your career, he said the end result at the end is we're gonna have a bunch of people just dropping out and telling on each other because we're forcing them to do, which is something that stuck to me. And now that I see how prison is, then I'm realizing that that's exactly what happened, because a lot of these carnales are demanding the homies to do stuff, are teaching them that they should tell on each other whenever they see them messed up, so they can gain like a little favoritism on their part. We see a lot of homies killing these homies. We see a lot of homies telling on homies just to get in good grace with these people. And at the end, they will do exactly the same thing that you just did to the other person. They're gonna put another camarada right next to you to keep an eye on you. If you do something wrong, they're just gonna discard you. And it was something that he always said, stuck to me. He said, love each other, bro. We're all homies at the end of the day. We all serve to one purpose, to make sure we make it while we're doing this time, to make sure we survive the prison system, to make sure our rivals in here doesn't get the upper hand on us and hurt one of the homies. That's the whole purpose of this stuff, to take care of each other, to care for each other, to look out for each other. He said we shouldn't be fighting each other all the time. We shouldn't be politicking against each other all the time. He said, I know sometimes it's necessary because one rotten apple can contaminate the rest. He's like, I know sometimes we have to clean house because homies do stupid stuff. He's like, but I don't like when homies start politicking against each other for personal gain. Which it was weird because later on I find out a couple of things to him, but then you can also say the hypocriticism was there. A lot of people can be hypocrites, can say one thing and do the other thing, but at that time I didn't know a lot of the stuff that was going on because I wasn't need to know basis, you know. But I can only tell you from my standpoint from dealing with him and how I start to work with him. Like I said, he asked me for a favor to do to his wife while I was on the streets. So that's how we got to know. He called us. He was like, hey, can you guys go do me a favor? My wife needs this. Can you guys see if you guys can help her? And that's how me and him relationship got started. And eventually when I got to prison, uh, having a conversation with a homie from Sanjo, that's how I heard what he was doing, because I was talking to a homie from Sanjo that I know, and he was like, hey, we got it out from upstate. I was like, yeah, I heard. Who is it? And then when he told me the name, I was like, what? I'm like, bro, I know him. He was like, nah, you don't know him. I'm like, yeah, I do know him. I talked to him when he was in Lake County. I'm like, he's still there. I was like, palabra? He's like, yeah. And that's when I was like, oh. He's like, I can put you in contact with the secretary, one of your homeboys. Then when I got in, and the crazy part is I was talking to my homeboy already due to some barrio issues, but it never crossed my mind. I never asked him because it didn't have nothing to do with me. It wasn't my politics. But then after I was told, I reached out to my homeboy and I was like, hey, fool, you know so and so? He's like, yeah. I'm like, hey, fool, I want to send him some cariño, GP, just to see how he's doing. And he was like, you know him? I'm like, yeah, I did a couple favors for him, asking if you remember him. So I guess when he called him that night, he told him where I was at and that he remembered that I was trying to send him some cariño. And he remembered me, actually, by the grace of the gods of the game banging life, or however you guys want to put it. He remembered who I was, and he agreed to speak to me. So we talked, and I was like, hey, man, I'm here. He said, whatever, if you need anything, let me know. I can talk to my carnal. I know who you are, that is. And if you need anything, if you ever get put in a situation, man, if I can help, let me know. But I never reached out to him for any favor. All I told him, I was like, I just want to do my time, man. I already did my first ones. I just want to kick back for now on. I just want to do my time, see if I can get it there. If not, then go in there. But I mean, if shit needs to be done, then I'll be able to handle it. Which is something that he agreed. He was like, man, that's good thinking. He's like, just stay under the radar. Don't drag attention, do your thing, and just be safe. But when I start hustling, you guys know how prison is. And for the people that don't know how prison is, I explain. When you hustling and you getting a little bit of thing and you selling and you doing your thing, you have to kind of get involved with somebody, because if you're not, here was the problem is going to lie. Let's say your homie comes to you and say, hey, Fuller, I need some, sell me some of that. And they don't, or you fund somebody, right? And that person never pays you. And then you come up to the people. What I used to do, I used to tell the camarada that was in charge, like, hey, homie, I want to get paid one way or another. Let me go into the cell and put hands on it. Some camaradas will allow you to do it. Some camaradas didn't, because they didn't even know how the other person will react if they would check in, and then they will, they know who the dope man was. They know what type of thing was transpired because they've been there in the air for a long time, so they wouldn't allow you to do that. Some of the camaradas be like, hey, it's your thing, do it. But then I realized that if you're selling dope in prison, if you're doing your thing in prison, eventually you will have to line up with somebody for the simple fact that people would think they can get over you. People will always say, hey, fund me this, and never try to pay you. And then if you beat up on them, then you get in trouble because level 4 got the no hands policy. So, when that started happening to me, the homies were act up and they were not trying to pay me, and I was trying to go into the cell. Homies were denying me. I almost got in trouble because one time I did went into the cell without asking for permission, and it put me in a predicament where I had to do cleanup because of that. Even though I was on my right, I was an old right of me to go collect my money, but that's not how things got down in level 4, which was weird to me because I was like, hey, if somebody takes something from you, or somebody try to act like they just took it from you, my thinking was gonna be like the homies will back you up, that you stand on your grounds, but it didn't play out like that. So I remember that he asked me, if you ever need anything, let me know. So I contacted the homeboy and I was like, hey, fool, how does that work if I want to just send some cariño to do just because I don't want people to keep playing with my money? Then that way I can say it's hot. What's up? He's like, well, I will run it by the chain of commands, see what he's saying. Then from them, we will put you on the list, and then you'll be a primo. And then people will know if they play with your money, they're playing with his money. So it's a better outlet. A lot of people don't want to play with people's money because they can see the consequence can turn into just a boob into a stabbing, especially if it's a long time. But see, I also didn't want to put homies in that situation because I don't really like to put hands on homies. I don't really like to teach homies by beating them up, breaking their fingers or shit like that. I wasn't agreeing with that, so I didn't really want to do it. So my limit was 150. If you owe me 150 already and you're trying to take more dope out, I'm not giving you more dope. I know the limit for the house was 300, but me it was 150. I put that limit because I figured 150 is not that long, but some people still will get you stabbed for 150. But me it was like 150. That's equal to TV almost. So I could just take your TV, sell it, and get some of the money back and just be from there, I don't want to. My point was not to hurt homies. At that time, I wasn't using drugs, so I didn't know what a Malia felt like. I didn't know what a kick down felt like. So, but I still didn't judge. Even though I didn't know what it felt like, I still didn't judge the homie, so I gave him the benefit of the doubt, but I didn't want to put him in a predicament with $300 will get you whacked if you didn't pay him in a certain amount of time. So I didn't go over 150 limit, and I didn't friend just anybody. There were certain people when homies would come and be like, hey, fool, hey, let me get this, I got this. I will ask the homies that been there for a long time, they were using drugs, and I will ask them if they knew what type of pay he was. And if they would tell me like, yeah, he takes a little long, but he overpays, then I would deal with them. And they were like, nah, that fool don't pay. For that old fool, they're near the whole house. Don't go to them because that fool's always looking for who's having dope to sell, so he don't have to pay. And he always give you false bunk numbers, so you don't want to deal with that. So I stay away from them, just so I didn't have to deal with that issue, that I put no predicament like that. And when I told Freddy, when I spoke to him, and he was cool that I had joined his team, but at the same time, he told me, hey, fool, you have the chance to go home, so try not to go crazy and start catching a bunch of cases just because that way you still can do better in the streets than here. Which is weird that people like that will give you advice, because sometimes they will just tell you, hey, homie, just keep doing you, blast everybody, la la la. But like I said, he wasn't like that. And that's how my beginning of politics started with him. I started working with him. First, it was just a little regular building. Then I got in bed with a couple other people that I will tell you guys the stories later. When I got to Folsom, I was blessed enough to take over the yard. At that time, I call it blessing, and I'll explain to you guys why. Because when you have a yard, it's a little bit more headaches, but then it gives a little bit more room to wiggle at the same time. Now, when I got moved to Santanella, I was the porter, the yard crew there, so I had a little wiggle room, so I would be able to do a thing here and there and there. And I will tell you guys how later on down the road, um, somebody from the hospital, a nurse from the hospital came into my graph, and I started doing my things a little bit big. But for now, I just want to tell you guys the story how me and Freddy got together, how me and him was the type of person he was, at least with me, the type of dealings that I did with him, and how I started to get into politics. Because after me and him, I started working for him, then it went down the road for me. I started doing a lot of favors for other Karnales. And so, like I said, I was getting visits. I was doing my this, and then after that person in medical crack under the sublimos of the pure game of the lengua of the piropos, it became a little bit better for me in the simple fact that I was able to do a little bit more. So with that comes the risk that other Karnales want you to do things for them. They want you to help them out on certain things. So that's how I became that I got more involved with politics after I cracked the free staff in the hospital and the World Center. But that's how my beginning of politics was when I started dealing with Freddy. That's how I got into politics, and that's how I was doing my thing. I will tell you guys about how I cracked that staff, free staff. I won't say her name or nothing for out of respect. And I will tell you how I started dealing with other canales outside him. With that being said, mi gente, I hope you like this. I hope you guys like this recording. I hope you guys enjoy it. Don't forget to hit the like. Don't forget to subscribe. And make sure you guys leave me a comment, man. Thank you guys so much. Like I said, I apologize for the noises. I'm cleaning the house and doing a few other things around the house since I didn't get a chance to work today. But I wanted to put out a banger for you guys. So here it is. Me and Freddy, how me and him got to work in it, how I work a little network that also helped my barrio put me in a position, solidify that kind of work against me afterwards. And that was the first time that my barrio kind of turned against me and when they was trying to get me here. So these two stories will have something to do with it. After this one, I will told you guys how I blew up, how I started working with the Karnales, and that prompted the barrio to start asking me for more things and how I got hit the first time behind the misunderstandings. So I will tell you guys the new story after this one, and then I'm gonna drop a couple MS stories on the next channel today and tomorrow. So stay tuned, my guys. With that being said, don't forget to be kind to one another. Love your loved ones. Tell them that you love me because tomorrow's never promised. Let's get it, mi gente.